All right. Hey, Professor, how you doing? How you doing, you two? Let's get started real quick. So I did my presentation on cryptography. Right, so here's some important key terms you should keep in mind while I go through the concepts and everything involved in cryptography. So first, we got asymmetric cryptography, which uses two different keys, public and a private key, to encrypt data and decrypt data respectively. We'll get into more detail about that as we get into this. In symmetric cryptography, this is a type of cryptography that allows users one key for encryption and decryption in a quantum computer. So a quantum computer is a new computational device that is used to perform different levels of computation on the quantum level using what are known as qubits. Qubits is basically the quantum computer's version of bits. So let's move on. So what is cryptography? Cryptography is the practice of keeping information secure through the use of specific codes that only certain people know. And this dates back for thousands of years, all the way back to Julius Caesar's time. And there was actually a cipher that was created by Julius Caesar called the Caesar cipher, which was used by him and his men, his army, to give them information about the enemy, but only Julius Caesar and his enemies would know, or his men would know about the information, where to meet up, what to do, the strategy to win, etc. So in cryptography, they use specific mathematical concepts such as prime numbers and algorithms, which is a set of instructions that a computer follows to essentially lock information to keep it secure. There are concepts that are applied to ensure that information is safe, but one of the most important details is digital signatures. And so let's talk about what a digital signature is real quick. Let me see here. Okay, so a digital signature, this basically means using mathematical techniques to ensure information is coming from an authorized user. So this is basically a way for people to know that you are getting information from the right source that you're supposed to get it from. Like, say, for example, Bob and Alice. Bob sends information to Alice. Alice gets that information using her key, but as we know, people can intercept this information by playing man in the middle, which is a common attack attackers use in order to gain information and manipulate information and play the middle ground in communication between two or multiple people. So digital signatures is a way for Alice to know that this information came from Bob and not from anyone else. It wasn't altered. The integrity of it remains the same. So it's genuine, right? So there are different types of cryptography. In cryptography, there are many different ways to encrypt information or lock information and decrypt. First of which is called symmetric encryption, which we mentioned before, which is essentially having a set of space where information is sent with a specific code or cipher, which is a specific algorithm used to encrypt information. As I mentioned before with the Caesar cipher, it is a specific algorithm that's used to encrypt the information to another person so they can decrypt it and read it. This way, during encryption, it is dangerous for which, I'm sorry, I had a little typo there going on, but it's fine. It's fine. Improvise. So this is a way for people to, so in symmetric cryptography, there's one key. It's a public key. And both recipients, let's say Bob and Alice, have this public key. And with this public key, it's used for encryption and it's used for decryption. But there's a major issue with that. If someone manages to take the public key from one of these users, they get access to the information. It's basically one key for all. And if you lose this key, someone else can take this key and unlock this information, right? Unlock the information and extract it and take it for themselves. And they'll be able to find the cipher, right? Crack the code and get into it, right? So that isn't very common. It's not very good. It's not very secure, right? So what people use more commonly is asymmetric encryption. And within this encryption technique, you have a public key and you have a private key. And the thing about asymmetric encryption is that although one of the users have a public key, the key, no pun intended, opening this encrypted information is by using the private key, which is already exchanged and given to, let's say in this example, Bob from Alice. So he is the only one that can unlock it. So it doesn't matter if someone in the middle is trying to take it, they can't take the private key because it's pretty much secure. So asymmetric is much more common. It's way better than symmetric, right? So a common one that we use, I believe, is called AES, which is basically a standard. It's Advanced Encryption System, something like that, which is basically a way for us to encrypt information. We use asymmetric encryption to encrypt data, essentially. So here's the problems with cryptography. Attackers are very prevalent, very common when it comes to cracking codes that are encrypted, and it can be a bigger concern when the implementation of quantum computers come into play. And as we mentioned, quantum computers are basically new computational devices, and I put the emphasis on new because it's not like they are better than supercomputers that we have. It's simply a different way of tackling new information, right? Quantum computers is different from traditional computers in the sense that it operates on the quantum level, right? It needs to be cooled to much lower temperatures to operate. So it's not like you're going to have access to this in your home or anything like that anytime soon, right? But it's still going to be something very dangerous and something that we should look out for. Quantum computing can be a problem for cryptography because it could perform calculations at absurd speeds. It's very quick. It would take years upon years upon years, billions of years actually, to crack something that is like 256 bits long, which is actually the current standard that we use in cryptography to encrypt our information in. Right? What would take millions of years with millions of different combinations, a quantum computer can do it in a matter of hours, maybe even a few days. It's crazy. So quantum computers can find the solution and crack it within a matter of minutes, right? Although it's really not a problem now because it hasn't been perfected. However, it's a growing concern within cryptography. So what's being done about it? Currently, for the future of cryptography, quantum computing is going to be the new way to do cryptography. Even though there's going to be ways to crack what we have currently, it's going to be the new way of encrypting information. So we're basically using quantum computers to encrypt, let's say, higher amounts of data on the quantum level perhaps, but it's also going to be our very own weakness. But we got to use what we got to use. So what's the research, right? What's going on with that? There's a type of cryptography that has been researched. It is called ECC, which stands for elliptic curve cryptography. It's most used and least understood concept in cryptography, hence why they are researching it a lot more. It allows you to process a lot of data and provide high security. But this could be made better with quantum computers. It's not very optimal with the current state of computers now. Here's my potential solution. to cryptography. As stated before, we know that cryptography is very strong and we use it to secure information. However, we know that in the future there is a threat of most of our cryptography tech. It will be able to be cracked and it will be obsolete. As mentioned before, quantum computers are going to have very strong computing powers and will be able to crack the highly secure cryptic data that we have now, despite being 256 bits long. It's a lot of bits. So a solution that we could use to crack this is using, well, the quantum computer to our advantage. As I mentioned before, we have cryptic security standards, as I mentioned before as well, like AES, which is which is basically the government standard of asymmetric cryptography that we use to encrypt information. We could evolve it by using something like quantum cryptography. Quantum cryptography. That sounds, I don't know about you, but that sounds amazing. That sounds amazing. We could use the power of a quantum computer to essentially quantify, I don't think that's a word, but encrypt data on the quantum level. We'll be able to protect a lot more information with a lot more bits, right? And it'll be a lot more efficient, I think, as well. Once we perfect the quantum computer, this concept could be unique and stronger because it uses a number at a quantum level that could be even more powerful than supercomputers we have now. That could be the next wave of cryptography. So other places for research for cryptography. Cryptography has a lot of research that needs to be done with it, especially within the realm of quantum computing. There always could be research done within asymmetric cryptography that could boost security and keep information from being stolen and tampered with, right? As I didn't mention this, but it's very important to maintain within information security CIA, confidentiality, integrity, and authenticity. So in order to maintain all three of those components, we need stronger cryptography, we need stronger keys, we need to block out as many attackers as we can by using technology such as quantum computing in the future to keep our information safe. So, research applications. Where else can you use this stuff, right? There are other avenues that can use this kind of research, like AI. How, you may ask? Well, with AI, you can create a system that can help you detect abnormalities within a system that aid us into figuring out whether our system has been tampered with or not. It allows us to easily recognize if our information is lacking in some way, like if it's easily penetrated, if it's easily cracked, right? In addition to that, we can do more research in computer networking as well to strengthen the security protocols between networks. Right? So, in conclusion, cryptography is a wide field. It's a huge field with important applications to the real world. Military, intelligence agencies such as the CIA and various other intelligence agencies that are out there as well. Very, very important stuff. It's responsible for securing things like your credit card information and passwords and usernames, etc. So it's important that having a basic understanding of cryptography can help one understand how things are encrypted, transported to others, and decrypted. Cryptography is a wonderful field. It's a very interesting field. And there's so much that goes into it that it's almost endless. It's almost an endless field that will never stop growing. And here are the websites I use to gather most of this information as well. So that is